Good evening, Eswatini, and welcome to the 8 p.m. news broadcast brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Nondobego Nzapkelogo. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. The Minister for Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, says there are teams that have been put in place in all chiefdoms to monitor the compliance of COVID-19 regulations by churches. Maize price has increased by 500 emalangeni. The Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, says the schools inspections exercise will help government to make a prudent and informed decision regarding the reopening of Form 3 classes. And now for the news. The Minister for Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, says there are teams put in place in all chiefdoms to monitor the compliance of COVID-19 regulations by churches. The minister says government will quickly close all churches who will not comply with the regulations. The minister was speaking when inspecting the readiness of churches to increase their capacity this coming weekend.
Following the announcement by the Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini that churches can now have 30% of its members starting this Sunday on the 19th of July, the Home Affairs Minister Princess Lindiwe visited some of the churches here in Mbabane to see their readiness for the Sunday service. Some of the churches the minister visited include Free Evangelical Assemblies, Eswatini, Dark City Council of Churches in Eswatini, and the Worship Center here in Mbabane.
Kunemabandla khona la tabagade yonke imimango yabo kunemabandla la khona la ngekhathi etikhulwini yonke imiphakathi kunemabandla lapho khona khanza ukuthi kunebafundisi khona kunalaba basemangweni laba tabevele ba monitor lapha emimangweni sethembe bona ukuthi ngabo labantu awuphuma bahlole ngoba le khashane vele kulikhona ukufika keja laba bakhona batawukhona bakhona vele seba assigniwe ukuthi batawuphuma nje bayohlola ukuthi kuhamba njani abantu bayalandzela nomthetho nangabe bangalandzeli bese sebayabika emaphoyiseni.
The regional administrator of the Hoho region, Princess Tanzile, says she's impressed that some of the churches they visited are following the COVID-19 regulations.
Texwayiso te COVID-19 uyabona ukuthi sive sakithi sitawuphila njengoba texwayiso batithethe nalokukhulunywa iHome Affairs ukuthi bantu abachelelane kakhulu kunalokho besikhuluma kethini.
Chairman of the Council of Churches, Begindlela Makongo, says he is also impressed by some of the work the churches have done, and he says he hopes other churches have done the same. He says as a council they will definitely make a follow-up on some of the churches to ensure that they follow the COVID-19 regulations.
Akusho ukuthi lo se lelibalisonto selithole lemvume yokuthi inombolo dingakhuphuka dinelele capacity lebekiwe sekusho ukuthi emva kwaloko seke bayotendela ngendlela labafuna kwenda ngayo kuyawulandzelelwa ngalendlela lokumiswe ngayo balandzelele ngaleti inombolo losetivumelekile singitona tiyawungena la.
Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Lungelele Makakula with Nelsiwe Simelane in Mbabane.
The price of maize has increased by 500 emalangeni. Last year, the price of maize was 2,800 emalangeni per metric ton, and it will now cost 3,300 emalangeni. This announcement was made by the Minister for Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, in preparation for the 2020-2021 planting season.
To the Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, in a press conference when updating the nation on developments in the agriculture sector, the minister says maize price has increased from 2,800 emalangeni to 3,300 emalangeni per metric ton for farmers who are contracted to National Maize Corporation NMC.
I take this opportunity to announce a new price for maize, which is our staple food crop. The overall mandate of the ministry is to ensure food security at household and national level, as well as to facilitate and promote the commercialization of agriculture. This is a huge task that comes with so many challenges. Taking into consideration the economic importance of maize, I am pleased to announce changes in the maize price as follows. Producer price will increase from 2,800 emalangeni to 3,300 per metric ton for farmers who are contracted to NMC. For farmers selling to NMC without contracts, the price offered will be 3,100 per metric ton. The incentives offered by the price increase are envisaged to help stimulate production and ensure that the country meets its national demand of maize in the short term.
The minister further stated that charges for input subsidies and the tractor hire services will not increase due to challenges that have been brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic to the global economy. Mabuza also revealed that deadline for inputs is the 31st of October and farmers are urged to adhere to these deadlines for proper procurement planning and ensuring timely availability of inputs from suppliers. On the issue of fall armyworm experienced by the country over the past 3 years, the minister has appealed to farmers to report outbreaks timelessly for positive identification of the pest and technical advice on the most effective and safe control measures to be implemented before such damage is caused. For Eswatini TV News, I am Zoto Antlameni with Maize in Babane.
The Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, says the school's inspection exercise will help government to make a prudent and informed decision regarding the reopening of Form 3 classes. The minister was speaking during an inspection of Shiselweni schools today.
Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, has inspected 16 high schools in the Shiselweni region. Bembe says he will present a report to government if Shiselweni schools are ready to welcome back the Form 3s.
I say that today we are visiting some more schools in the Shiselweni region. We started at Evelyn Bering. The aim is that we mix big schools and small schools. The purpose of government in doing this is to see whether or not we can open the next class, which is Form 3, in terms of spaces, in terms of teachers, in terms of equipment and furniture. This is what we are looking at. We are just taking samples so that we can make an informed decision as government. Many people are doubting and they are saying they are this and there is this and there is that. This is exactly why we are here, to find out what problems are there, how can we overcome them, because life must go on.
One of the reasons Minister Bembe inspected schools was to find out difficulties faced by the schools and how government can assist. Minister Bembe says the country will not be a standstill due to COVID-19. Therefore, Eswatini should learn to live with the virus. Minister Bembe says during the inspection, he noted that some schools have water scarcity, but government stakeholders are assisting such schools. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Smova Shongwe, Mbukane.
And now we will look at the update from the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has confirmed 67 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. According to a statement released by the Minister for Health, Lizingosi, the ministry received 481 results, of which 67 tested positive for COVID-19, which brings the total number of confirmed cases in Eswatini to 1,619. There are 732 active cases. 769 people have since recovered from COVID-19. The kingdom has recorded 21 COVID-19 related deaths so far. Maize region has recorded 829 COVID-19 patients. Hoho has recorded 534. Shiselweni has recorded 132 and Lubombo has recorded 124. Let's continue with the news. The Deputy Prime Minister's Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly will be taking submissions from all stakeholders regarding the regulations of the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act No. 15 of 2018.
Went to the tabling of regulations of the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act number 15 of 2018, the August House of Assembly has mandated the Portfolio Committee of the Deputy Prime Minister's Office to conduct public hearings. Through public input of legal experts and stakeholders, the committee will be able to make a finding on whether the regulations provide clarity on the interpretation and enforcement of some of the contentious sections of the Act inter alia, Section 10, unlawful stalking, Section 42, abduction, Section 48, sexual harassment, Section 70, economic and emotional abuse. Much more importantly, a finding will be made as to whether the regulations provide clear guidelines for police to thoroughly investigate cases before effecting an arrest and whether the Domestic Violence Act 2018 is properly implemented in a fair, unbiased manner to prevent it being abused by those who want to settle personal scores. Such public consultations are in line with the spirit and dictates of the Ngula political system, which is a grassroots form of monarchical democracy based on public participation, a government of the people, for the people, of the people. Those interested in making oral and written submissions can contact the committee clerk Matogoza Dlamini at mobile 76122 964 or email at matogoza.dlamini@yahoo.com. The deadline for submissions is Friday, the 7th of August 2020 at 4 p.m. Reporting, I'm Zodo Dlamini in Babane.
The Speaker in the House of Assembly, who is also the President of the SADC Parliamentary Forum Eswatini branch, Petros Mavimbela, says they fully support the recently launched mobile clinic which seeks to provide sexual reproductive health services to Far East Garments employees. Mavimbela was speaking during a tour of the services in Matapa.
Wednesday, the United Nations Population Fund, in partnership with Far East Garments Factory in Matapa, launched a mobile clinic aimed at supporting Far East Garments female employees on issues of sexual reproductive health, as it has been reported by UNFPA that they find themselves mothering many children because they lack knowledge on sexual reproductive health services. The SADC Parliamentary Forum visited the women at the factory as a gesture to show them that they support this program. The Speaker in the House of Assembly, who is also the President of the SADC Forum in Eswatini, Petros Mavimbela, says this project will be beneficiary to the women because with the work they do, they hardly find time to visit clinics for consultations on matters of reproductive health.
Labo dzadzewethu labakhona la labasuka le emakhaya lokhanza ukuthi abawatholi ama services nyalo ngoba sebala ukuthi wakhumbula lokuthi phela emsebenzini bangena lokho ekuseni baphume lokho ebusuku.
The Deputy President of the SADC Parliamentary Forum, Senator Isaac Makakula, says they support this initiative because it aligns with the objectives of the forum, which is ensuring that women's rights are taken seriously and also ensure that women are well versed on sexual reproductive health issues. He says the committee commends this project as it will change the women's lives.
The Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Project uhamba kahle emaveni lapha SADC. Sibonga nje ukuthi la kangwane liyabonakala liyandlondlobala impela kuyamjabulisa umuntu ukuthi wakangwane yena umuntu wakangwane.
The owner of Far East Garments, Toki Ho, says she is thankful to the forum for this support and hopes it will change the mindset of her employees on sexual reproductive health issues.
Jabule kakhulu ukuthi nema members ase parliament bafikile batozivakashela babusisa lo msebenzi ukuthi uqhubeke kahle.
Reporting, Mlungilile Makakula with Nelsi Wesimelane in Matapa.
The Ministry of Health has trained 15 laboratory technologists on accurate malaria diagnostic techniques in order to eliminate the possibility of making errors when taking tests. The workshop was held at the George Hotel in Manzini, where Benson Shimbiri, who represented the director of the malaria unit, warned on the effects of making wrong diagnoses.
While many countries world over, including Eswatini, are grappling with the outbreak of COVID-19, yet the Ministry of Health in the kingdom is still strengthening its efforts of fighting other problematic diseases, including malaria, even in such trying times as 15 laboratory technologists have been trained on the latest expertise to eliminate mistakes in testing processes. During the official closing of this workshop, which was held at the George Hotel in Manzini, Benson Shimbiri, who represented the director of the National Malaria Control Program, acknowledged that competent professionals and high-quality equipment are also key in accurate malaria diagnosis.
Accurate laboratory diagnosis is essential, as false negative results can lead to untreated malaria and potentially severe consequences, including death. While on one hand, false negative results can also significantly undermine both clinical confidence in laboratory results and credibility of health services, thus eroding public confidence and dignity.
Eswatini is part of the Elimination 8 countries in the SADC region, whose target is to do away with malaria by the year 2030. For Eswatini TV News, with Mbongatube at Manzini.
The communications officer of Umbutfo Eswatini Defense Force, Dengetile Khumalo, has warned members of the force to be on the lookout for a former soldier who goes around promising soldiers top positions in return for money.
The UEDF would like to caution its personnel against an ex-soldier, Machaha Shabalala, who goes around swindling unsuspecting servicemen of their hard-earned cash, claiming to be acting on the instruction of the army commander under the guise of cash for promotions. The UEDF has reliably gathered that the former member of the Defense Force professes to be a blood relative and agent of the incumbent UEDF commander, General Jeffrey Shabalala. The prowling culprit targets innocent soldiers by convincing them that he is an agent of the current army commander to make his claims look plausible. The bogus agent also professes to be working with a certain clerk at the defense headquarters. The UEDF Public Relations Office would like to state that the former soldier is not a blood relative of the incumbent Defense Force commander. Machaha merely shares the same surname with the UEDF commander. They are not biologically related. The Defense Force takes note that con artists have a tendency of swindling eMaswati by enticing them with jobs in the army. On that note, the Defense Force assures the nation that jobs and promotions are not on sale in the UEDF. The UEDF has a promotions board in place which deals with such matters. Therefore, the army commander will never dispatch agents to conduct recruitment and promotions. Recruitment is conducted through the Royal Command Uyezwana. The Defense Force urges its members who have already fallen victim of the bogus agent to report the matter as soon as possible to the Internal Anti-Corruption Task Team. And for further details, the victims should approach the Office of Public Relations. Report compiled by Lungelele Makakula in Babane.
Police have arrested 24 people for contravening the COVID-19 regulations. These people were organized by Adventures in Mission Eswatini. The organization was empowering the youth on character formation and development. This was said by the organization's representative, Celimpilo Vilane.
Adventures in Mission Eswatini organized a training for 24 youth at Malkalpan area. The youth was being trained on good behavior. In a telephonic interview, police spokesperson Superintendent Pindile Vilagati confirmed the arrest. Vilagati said when police arrived at the house at Malkalpan, there were no hand sanitizers and the participants did not observe social distancing as per COVID-19 regulations. Celimpilo Vilane, speaking on behalf of the Adventures in Mission Eswatini, also confirmed the arrest.
We admit that we are guilty of that charge that they charge us with, breaking the COVID-19 regulations or acts, the 2020 Act, because they found us not wearing masks, and we were not observing the social distance that is 1.5 meters apart. But our reason, I think, even though there is no ignorance in the hands of justice, but we were ignorant, I would say, because we thought because we are operating as a family, in a family setup, then it's okay not to observe the social distancing and not wearing the mask, because we stayed together and the kids or the students were quarantined for 14 days before they came to the house. So we thought we are okay because we did our homework before.
Those who were arrested paid 60 malangeni, which is admission of guilty. Adventures in Mission Eswatini managed to pay the fine for all of those who were arrested. The youth were from Manzini and Lubombo regions. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Ismova Shongwe, Malkalpan.
Maswazi Smelane, a young entrepreneur of Duze area who owns an electronic shop, says the partial lockdown was a blessing in disguise for him, as it afforded him the opportunity to attract more customers since other well-known electronic retailers were closed.
Maswazi Simelane is a young entrepreneur of Duze area who is among the Youth Fund beneficiaries. Maswazi has been able to create job opportunities for himself at the age of 31. Speaking in an interview, Maswati says the partial lockdown gave him an opportunity to market his business. He says he received the funding in March this year, which was around the time when the partial lockdown came into effect in the country. He says the lockdown was a blessing in disguise for him. Sumelane says he had a dream of owning an electronic shop since he was young. His dream encouraged him to work around it when he was hired as an electrician, which opened his eyes that he was capable of owning a shop and still be an electrician.
Baba would say 7 as an electrician. So, but ngabuka le mali ngihola kule contract kule phupho lenginalo mina emhlabeni sifuna ngibe nalo kunalo ngikhanze ngathi ngifika kathi so I decided ukuthi ngcono ngitendele mina because nale emkontrakini lo mlungu uthola imali ngalo msebenzi lo wenziwe ngini.
Sumelane encouraged young people in the country to stand up and create job opportunities for themselves, especially those who had the privilege of going to tertiary institutions. Eswatini TV, Sondomlangeni with Themba Shabangwins Pofaneng.
And now for our sports news. The Eswatini Cricket Association's Vice President, Delisa Malinga, says the coaching course for local coaches has already started and will last for 7 days. Malinga says this is going to improve the standard of coaching and that of the game locally.
The Eswatini Cricket Association said since sporting activities were suspended because of the coronavirus outbreak, they will use the time to conduct coaches workshop with the intentions of equipping their coaches and also help the sport grow in the country. The workshop has finally taken place as 5 local coaches are attending the workshop through social networks. Delisa Malinga, who's the vice president, says this will help.
Ehlelweni lokuthuthukisa yona icricket eSwatini emaswati lasihlanu aphishanekile ke afunza yona i-level 1 cricket coaching course.
Malinga says this is part of their program to grow the standard of the game in the country, and the 5 coaches that are part of the workshop will be sent out to teams around the country where they will be working with, and hopefully they'll produce more quality players.
Zoom meeting.
One of the participating coaches, Musa Twala, says they will take the knowledge and develop more players.
We are hopeful that the information is there.
Twala says they are very hopeful that the information they will get, they will put it in good use and develop more players that will help grow the standard of the sport in the country. The workshop is hosted by the African Cricket Association in partnership with the Eswatini Cricket, and the coaches will next week sit for their exams. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo Msibi, Mbabane.
Fitness centers around the kingdom have promised to adhere to COVID-19 regulations since government has allowed them to reopen.
In the country, among facilities that were allowed to open by the government after they were considered to be low risk to transmit the coronavirus, the government had regulations that were to be followed. The Eswatini TV sports crew decided to visit some of the centers to see if they are following the regulations.
Each time my clients figure by a sanitizer, and then we take the temperature, your clients. And my clients also allow you to angene, uma ede mask, nel towel. So we advise Guti, bapinza futhi baphathe umuntu nemuntu aphathe sanitizer yakhe.
Noma sala ngekhathi before asebenzise le machine nayo siyayisanitizer le machine nabo bayakhona lokusanitizer le machine sinema stations alema sanitizing la ngekhathi.
Those who are using the facilities say they are well aware of what they are supposed to do to keep safe.
We have to bring our own sanitizers. I bring my towel. I keep on my mask at all times. And a social distance.
Akogela chimini, ngitana litawula lami, ngitana mask yami, ngesanitizer yami.
Qala I sanitize umshini before ngisebenzisa. La ngikhona khona ngisebenzisa litawula lami, ngibeke lona kuqala.
The most important thing ukuthi never touch your face. So no matter what equipment you can touch, but make sure you never touch your face. And now Puma, make sure you wash your hands, then you can go off to your car.
And as much as we do cardio, we're making sure that last miracle we ventilated. So umoya uhlale ukhona.
Siscanwa temperature, sisanitize, sisebenzise equipment. Uma ucetha kuyisebenzisa equipment, uyayithatha, uyifake, uyisanitize wena sho ukuthi lo landzelayo.
The public also expressed their excitement about the opening of the fitness centers, as they say that's their only way to keep fit. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sport News, I am Patizim Sibi, Mbabane.
Before we wrap up our bulletin, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. The Minister for Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, says there are teams that have been put in place in all chiefdoms to monitor the compliance of COVID-19 regulations by churches. Maize price has increased by 500 emalangeni. The Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, says the schools inspections exercise will help government to make a prudent and informed decision regarding the reopening of Form 3 classes. That's all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.